create our provincial targets, right after the date updated block, we want to add another branch. So I'm going to hit the plus button and I'm going to add a clean step. For consistency, I'm going to move this one down lower. And I'm going to call this Ag by Province. In this step, we're doing something similar to the record level clean that we did, but not quite the same. What we're going to do, though, is as we did before, we're going to exclude Canada only. We're going to keep both sexes. Where it's different, however, is that we want to keep all levels of study and exclude the all fields of study, all of the subtotals basically. Now that we have our provincial totals, we can then do some field cleanup on our data and go from there. So for our field cleanup, just to keep it easy to see, we'll add another clean step. Now that it's no longer relevant for the targets that we're creating, we'll remove the sex field. We will also remove all of our percent-based fields. So I'll search for that, search for the percent symbol, right-click, hit remove. Once I've done that, I'm going to also search for N. We want to get rid of the required, participated, and paid options, but we want to keep the job after graduation. So select only the three, right-click, and hit remove. From here, we want to create our fake targets. For this purpose, we'll add one more clean step just to make it easy to understand our flow. And we're going to create a calculated field. We're going to call this government target -will -jobs after graduation. And we're going to put this calculation in. So we're taking the number of jobs after graduation as our starting point, and then we're adding a value to it. That value is based on 20% of the same field, so jobs after graduation times 20%, multiplied by some random number between 0 and 1. Then we're going to multiply whatever that number is by Tableau's random function. If it's less than 0.5, less than or equal to 0.5, it'll be a positive number, else it'll be a negative number. This will give us some fake targets. Please note that Tableau's random function is hidden because it is unsupported. We'll talk more about that later, but for the purpose of a demonstration, it works pretty well for this purpose. So let's hit save. Now that we've got our random targets calculating, we can see as an example in this second row here, where we have a government target, we have a target of 459 and an actual 560.7. This means that for Saskatchewan at all levels of study in the field of education, they are over the government target. Similarly, Nova Scotia in business, and so on. There will, however, be some places where the government target is actually higher than the N value. So in the case of Ontario, in health, for example, we can see that the government target is nearly 9,500, but the actuals are only 9,400. So these are our fake targets. They're not really perfect, and remember this was all made up, so none of these jurisdictions are over or under target for real. From here we can add one more output step. One move back to that fake targets, we're going to add a source field, just so we know how this was calculated. And we're going to say Tableau random as a string. Now that we have that, we're going to make a database table, and we're going to name this government targets. Select the existing connection, name the table government targets. Okay. making sure not to have any spaces. Spelling here matters for the next step in our process. Create the table. Our full refresh is going to create a table. We're going to say yes to the warning as we did before. And then we'll name this output step db gov targets, something like that. We can now hit the play button and our data is going to run again. Our flow is now complete. If we hit the refresh button up at the top as we did previously, and then check our database, we can now see that we have government targets and National Graduate Survey. This completes our more complex example. Please be aware that as of this recording in November 2020, Tableau's random function is not a supported function. This means that Tableau could remove it at any point. It is, however, useful for testing workflows like this one, but if you're going to create random numbers for use in important workflows, we would recommend using an integration such as TabPy or R. We'll show a brief video as our next example of using the TabPy integration for the same kinds of random targets that we're seeing here.